You're watching Straight Black Love Talk with your host, DC Radical One, the home of intelligent, mature relationship conversations.
BB48, Straight Black Pride, brothers and sisters. This is your host, DC Radical One, and this is SBL Talk. And tonight's discussion is entitled The First One to the Womb is the Winner. Let me know if y'all can hear me out there. Put a 1 in the chat. Let me greet Brother Elijah, BB48, Straight Black Pride, Brother Elijah, BB48, Brother Tony. And our co-host, I think, will be here shortly. She is doing double duty today, so she may be a little busy. But when she shows up, or when she makes herself available, I'll add her in to the mix. So I took this title. It is I guess it's kind of a takeoff of what Baba Kamal Cambone, who's now in the ancestral realm, when he said the first one to the mind is the winner. And that is true. The first one to the mind is the winner. But in the area of reproduction and nation building, it's true that the first one, I don't have anything going on. Y'all help me out. I don't got music going on. I don't have banners going on. Let me get myself together here. We got banners. Here we go. Check out the music. But as I was saying, let me see which one this is. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear the sound of anything coming through right now. Which I hate that it does that. I don't know what that is, but we're gonna work through it. Let me see. The level is kind of low. Can y'all even hear that? I don't know. Hold on. Let me see. Okay. I can hear it a little bit. All right, yeah, I'm gonna go with that tonight. But yeah, no, as I was saying, in the area of reproduction, the first one to the womb is the winner. What I mean by that is this. To give a brief synopsis. The one, because there's a couple of different things. One, the first man that a woman is intimate with really sets up her trajectory of, for lack of a better word, romantic relationships moving forward, right? So it's a very important event in a woman's life. And unfortunately, in the Western world, it isn't treated as such. It isn't treated with great care. We have failed in the Black community as men to protect our women and children from violation. That's just what it is. And so because of these things, a lot of women are really set up for failure in the romantic arena, if you will. And I understand we're not Romans, but I'm kind of at a loss for words, for replacement words, if you will. I don't know if they use Kemetic. I don't know if we use African. Like, yeah, y'all brainstorm and come up with something, an alternative for the term romantic, so I can put that in the I can put that into play, and that can be something that we use going forward, because I don't want to use the romantic thing. So I don't know if Sister Najee is here. Sister Najee, are you available? Let me know if you're available, so I can add you to the show. And if not, I'm just going to go on with our Straight Black Pride pledge. Compliment. So she shows up in the comment section. BB48 sister. She says, okay. Says give her a few minutes. Says complementarity in the complementarity arena. It's kind of unwieldy, but do with it what it is. But anyway, I was looking at something. So let me, while I'm waiting for the sister, I'll go ahead and do the pledge, and then we'll go from there. All right. And y'all can say it along with me or not. The choice is yours. But let us begin. It says, I pledge allegiance to my straight, black, and proud ancestors, and to the culture and traditions which they founded. I vow to practice those traditions of straight black love, family building, and nation building to the best of my ability, using all my life's energy, intelligence, and creativity. I also vow to do everything in my power to protect black men, black women, and especially black children from sexual abuse, homosexuality, exploitation, and miseducation, as long as I am mentally, physically, and spiritually able. Lastly, I vow to fight against any force, physical foe, ideology, or philosophy which threatens the straight, black, and proud culture, regardless of origin. This I pledge in the name of my African ancestors and the divine creator. Ashe. Now, y'all know I always, if you watch the show, I always start with this: the cultural importance of marriage. We have been bamboozled into looking at marriage as a negative in today's environment, and yet the alternatives are not working for anyone. If they were, we wouldn't have hundreds of life coaches, hundreds of relationship coaches, thousands, probably millions of relationship podcasts. We wouldn't have 50% divorce rate. We wouldn't have a lot of these things. BB48 to the ISP. So I'm going to say that since marriage is such a low rate in our community, that the idea that marriage isn't important, I'm going to say, is a fallacy based upon what people are doing in replacement of marriage, right? The results speak for themselves. I think one day I'm gonna have to get the ISP on here. And I don't know if you got time tonight, sister, but it is definitely a show where, that I forgot. Once I added a co-host, I forgot about the whole call-in section aspect of this. But I may want you to give your thoughts on, if not some of the stuff tonight, at a later show, if you're amenable to that. Now, let's get to this slide while I'm waiting for my co-host. This says, in traditional African American culture, marriage was an expected part of adulthood. In many African societies, you were not considered an adult if you were not married. The family was considered the foundational institution of the society. There was no debate about the equality of men and women, as each had their jobs to do for the Black or African society. What has changed of course, in the modern context, is that, and it is weird, but it's so obvious because you hear the women say it. Women are well aware of the basics of what a man's job is, right? In the society and in a relationship and things like that. Weirdly enough, women have a shockingly difficult time expressing what their roles and duties are in a relationship and in the society at large. And some women, they simply repeat almost verbatim what the man's job is, which means somebody is not doing their job, because we are meant to be complements, basically like puzzle pieces fitting together. So it is no way we should be doing the same job, because I mean there's too much overlap, and that leaves too much stuff to be that's not done, that's not that won't be completed. And in the grand scheme of things, you end up competing against each other, which is what you hear a lot of women doing. I don't actually hear a lot of men doing it, but I hear a lot of women, instead of being complimentary, they are trying to be competitive with men, which doesn't really make sense, because the men aren't really doing their job. So why are you trying to compete with them to do their job that they can't do? And the idea that women can do the job better than men is false in this environment, especially in this environment. Like, you know, we were back home, that'd be different. But in this environment, let's be realistic here. Let's keep it 100, right? The job of protecting Black society from domination, no one has successfully been able to do that more than a handful of times in the last 500 years. Point blank, period. Right? It's just call it what it is. Like, we can name the times because they're so remarkable. Haitian Revolution, right? Now, what's the thing that if we study Haitian Revolution, what's the thing we notice about it? We noticed that the Black men and Black women were working together to overcome the enemies, right? We don't look at it that way. We don't talk about the Haitian Revolution in that way. You had Black men warriors and women warriors who worked together to overthrow oppression and end enslavement in a society. I don't know why we don't tell that story that way. Another story, similar story, the Battle of Adwa between Ethiopia and Italy. The king, I believe Menelik, brought his wife, Emperor Menelik, excuse me, and he brought his wife, Empress Taitu, and I think their daughter, with him to the battlefield. And somebody asked him why, and he said, "Why would I leave my woman behind where she could get captured and violated by these vicious beasts?" And when I heard that, I was like, can't argue with that. You know what I'm saying? And she even had her own platoon that she commanded, right? And rallied the troops at one time in battle when they were, it looked like they were about to be overwhelmed, and they won that battle. So when you look at, of course, in the modern context, Black Panther Party for self-defense. So when you look at a lot of our revolutionary victories or our most powerful movements or things like that, it was with Black men and Black women working together. So the idea of trying to compete, unless we competing in righteousness and competing in who can be the greatest Black person, if we're not competing on that accord, then the idea of Black men and Black women competing is totally contradictory to our traditional values and our traditional way of life. Now on to the next slide. During enslavement, Black men and Black women would often escape and try to find spouses and children, risking life and limb. Black people would quote unquote buy their loved ones with money that they saved up working overtime, and that's end quotes, to get money to buy their spouse's freedom. What's interesting is I forgot, because I think I never watched this whole movie, but I forgot that basically that was kind of somewhat the plot of the movie Django. Like, if anybody ever seen Django, correct me if I'm misinterpreting the film, but from my understanding, I don't actually know why, but the German guy knew who the bad guy was, and was looking for his plantation, and so he freed Django, and then him and Django worked together, and then Django went to free his wife or whatever. I never get, like, y'all help me out that's seen it. What was the German guy? Why was he looking for whatever the bad guy's name was in the movie? Because I don't actually know the bad guy's name in the movie. I've never actually sat down and watched the whole movie for whatever reason. So first of all, y'all tell me if it's worth watching, and then second of all, y'all tell me, do I have the plot basically correct, or if I'm misinterpreting some things. But yeah, but I do remember that aspect of the film, and that was taken from real life instances where black men and sometimes black women would, reverse the hills of North America at the time, and to go rescue loved ones, or Red Cardinal said he walked out on that film. Yeah, I've never seen the whole thing. Tell me why you walked out on it. But yeah, that aspect of it was inspired by real events. Now, whatever else went on with it, because Quentin Tarantino is a peculiar individual. I'll just put it that way. I don't know. Anyway, to get to some black marriage data, I'm still waiting on my co-hostess. I almost forgot she was on. This is like the old school days when I was on by myself. It says only 27% of black women are married as of 2023. 50% of black women have never been married. 93% of married black women are married to black men. Until, and I still ain't fixed this slide. I just took it as it was. It was wrong. It was messed up when I wrote it, and it's still messed up. Till 1970, that's what that's supposed to say. Black women were more likely to be married than white women. Less than 10% of black women never married in their lifetime up until the mid 1980s, which is, in essence, I guess nationally, the beginning of the crack era, the mid 1980s. If you were in LA, it hit earlier. If you were in, say, Miami, New York, it hit earlier. It hit DC in the mid 1980s, and then moved to smaller cities in the late 80s and early 90s, so forth, so on. And only 34% of black men are married. 51% have never been married. And 85% of black men who are married to black women. And I've talked about this before. These numbers are really low. And it is really virtually impossible to maintain a society where marriage is this devalued, and so many people aren't married. Like, so many people have never been married. Maybe, and I don't get into the long-term relationship thing because I don't really consider that. The only way I would even pay that any attention is if somebody's polygamous, and you can't be polygamous in this society, which I find interesting. If you're not, to me, polygamy is a thing. If you're not into it, then cool. You know what I'm saying? And if you're into it and you're doing it for the right reasons, and you have a system in place, and you have, for lack of a better word, checks and balances in a community, then cool. But I find it interesting that two men can get married, two women can get married. People are marrying themselves. You got all types of stuff. The only thing people not legally marrying is animals yet. You know what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, the way it's looking like, people headed in that direction next. But you can do all that, but a man can't have two wives. Now, in this economy, a man can't afford two wives unless you're a millionaire. But the fact that you're not legally able to, but you're legally able to do all those other things, I find that interesting, right? And it's never really brought up anymore. People just accept the rainbow agenda and move on from there, but they don't compare these two things, which are in reality from a B40 straight black for our brother straight black. So in reality, we look at them from a reproductive perspective. LGBT decreases reproduction. Polygamy increases reproduction. Just as a fundamental aspect of the two, for lack of a better word, the lifestyle versus the death style, if you will. You know what I'm saying? But I'll just say the two quote unquote lifestyles, if you will. So the fact that the lifestyle that before the brother Crow, the fact that the lifestyle that does not include reproduction, if they are true to that lifestyle, is legal, and a lifestyle that would increase reproduction is illegal, I find that interesting. That's what I'll say to that. So here are some immutable truths, right? That a lot of times sisters don't want to acknowledge, but these are just the facts, right? In Western society, women have control over access to sex. Anyone who wants to disagree, I will now take a 7-second break to allow your disagreement to come up in the chat. If someone wants to tell me something opposite of what is on the screen, now is your time, right? If you watch this later on, you're not watching it live, and let's say you watch it tomorrow and you want to write your dissertation in the comments on this subject, please do so. But the only thing I ask is, do not write your dissertation and then delete it before we can share it with everyone, right? Don't do that. Don't be that person, right? But yeah, this is just a fact. So when women talk about the men, this, that, and the third, and so forth and so on, we can't overlook this simple part. The women control access to intimacy, right? So no one has disagreed. I will move forward. Not only do women control access to intimacy, but in modern society, women have nearly total control over access to their wombs. There are over a dozen types of birth control and dozens of products within those types under various labels. Getting pregnant in the 21st century is an active choice. Again, I'm going to assume, as Sister Najee would say, that's a super hot take. So I'm just going to let this, what I call immutable truths, I'm going to let this marinate. I'm going to leave this up on the screen. I'm going to sit here and sit back in this chair, and I'm going to wait for the disagreement to start. And if any disagreement doesn't start, then I'll move forward. Now, someone going to ask, maybe later, maybe they're thinking it, they don't want to type it, they're going to be like, what is the point of you pointing this out? Well, the point of me pointing this out is taking this to its logical conclusion. Women in general, and black women in the black community control who comes on the planet and who doesn't. Right? Now, in reality, when you look at it this way, this is an awesome responsibility to have, but yet it is the woman's responsibility. Now we have two choices. Okay, so I think Sister Najee is going to join us. Sister Najee, let me know if you're ready to be added to the stage. Although I think you can add yourself to the stage, I think. And I'll add you. So just let me know when you're ready. But as I was saying, this leaves us with two choices. Either A, women can continue to take the responsibility for this awesome task on their own as they're doing right now. Now, I'm going to say this. Right now, if we're being completely honest, the women are epically failing at this task. Right? Don't shoot the messenger. Now, somebody's going to be like, DC, how can you say that? And I'm going to say, how many Marcus Garveys are we producing in the modern context? How many Malcolm X's are we producing? How many Fred Hamptons are we producing? How many Huey P. Newtons are we producing? How many Stokely Carmichaels are we producing? How many Amos Wilsons are we producing? How many John Henry Clarks are we producing in the modern context? Right? I'm asking a question. Yeah, right, exactly. It's not a lot. So let's look on the other side. How many Sexy Reds are we producing? How many Little Nas X's are we producing? How many coons and cowards and confused males and confused females and dudes walking around showing their backside, and weirdos and dudes wearing bonnets, and how many of that are we producing? So something is going terribly wrong, right? Yeah, I mean, y'all stop me when I'm lying. I mean, I'm not. You ain't getting a lot of feedback here. You know what I'm saying? So, based on that, what's the second option? The second option, which I didn't know was never going to take place, is that the men in the lives of women need to help them in their mate selection process. Well, I'm not going to say it's never going to happen. Now, let me correct myself on that. That's not correct. I'm saying when I talk to women and when I hear other women talk, this is rarely part of their black women selection process, right? So rarely do they ask their fathers, if the fathers in their life, stepfather, uncle, male cousin, fill in the blank, a male that they trust. Now, part of the problem is, to be completely honest, some women don't have a male that they can trust in their family. Some women, I've dated women where like the only males in their family that you see are like either younger than them or they're related by marriage, not by blood. Right? Yeah, like it's a weird phenomenon, but you date a girl and she got like 3, 4, 5 sisters. And most of the cousins are girls, and that is a thing. I have seen it. Right? So that's option 2, right? Option 1, let women continue to do what they're doing, live with the results, which I am good. Option 2, they get assistance from a trusted male family member. Option 3, I'll call it the nuclear option. And I heard his sister say this, and when she said it, I was just kind of like rolling my eyes, like, yeah, whatever. Um, men, the men in the community, including the men that have been complaining about the women for the last decade, seemingly, all come together and decide to enforce some type of standard in regards to female mate selection. Now, I don't see that happening in America because I don't think hat society would allow it, because then it would improve our community and go against their goals of removing us from the planet. But that's what I call the nuclear option, right? Where, all this freedom of choice and freedom of movement and freedom of laying with whoever and all that just gets, tossed to the side. Now, I don't think I'm living long enough to see that, so I ain't really worried about it, but it is one of the options on the table. It'd be interesting to see if any sisters actually come in for this show, and more importantly, even stay for the show. Right? So I want to put those truths on the table before, at the beginning, not beforehand, but at the beginning. So again, if anyone has any disagreement with these truths, I call immutable truths, but you may say are fallacies, speak now or write your dissertation in the comment section later. All right, we'll move forward from this. Stats are facts. I had to look this up. I heard somebody say it, and I'm not gonna lie, people be saying stuff, and I'll be like, I don't know about that. I looked it up, and I was like, it's at least held on the internet. That's true. It says, can I make this bigger? Black American women have 1 million more children than Black American men. Now, if you knew that, put a 1 in the chat, because I just learned that at the beginning of this month, or maybe the end of last month, whatever. This, despite the fact that Black women have the highest abortion rate in the country. So this points to a few things, right? This means that either more women are actually having children outside the race, right, than we think, right? With non-Black men. So either the divestiture thing is resulting in more children, but not necessarily more marriages, right? Because the data tells us that 93% of Black women who are married to Black men. So that percentage of only what would be 7% of married women, and only 27% of women are married. So that would not account for 1 million more children through marriage outside the race, right? So either more Black women are reproducing outside the race and outside of marriage with non-Black men, or more Black women are having children, or the majority of Black women are having children with the same men, right? Some combination of these two phenomena are taking place. So when women complain, and I just thought about this, the T-app thing, right? I don't know if y'all heard about the T-app. The T-app was this thing that apparently some men, who probably some hats, invented, and it allowed women to share the quote unquote tea on the men they were dating, so women could check to see if the man they were dating other women, and I guess you could check his sexual proclivities and things like that, right? And I heard a brother on a podcast say that he said, well, this, Got me laughing. Talking about it's always six women and one Pookie. It's kind of the data and statistics kind of make it hard to argue with that. But yeah, the T app thing that was a big thing for a hot minute. And a brother said that, well, the fact that women are on there and they finding dudes on there and they mess with all these women just proves what men have been saying. I didn't even think about it that way. And then I think the app got hacked or something. If people's data got leaked and all this, I mean, it was a total mess. And it seemed like the thing wasn't out that long. It was just a bunch of confusion. But I didn't put the data up here, but amongst young men, I forgot what the statistic is, but a large percentage of young men aren't even getting intimacy. So the numbers amongst young men, the numbers are even more pronounced. Maybe not as far as reproduction, but as far as the women being intimate with a smaller subset of men. That's even more pronounced in the younger generation than it is, in the older generation. So, and this is not a black community thing. This is an American society thing. I'm gonna just put it like this. The last thing that you want in a society where people are already struggling economically, and of course, just a lot of weird things happening in the society in general. The last thing you want is a bunch of young, discontented, young men who don't feel loved. They're not making the type of money they want, and there's not much in society that they think will benefit them. You don't want those. You don't want a generation of those type of men, because as the proverb says, they'll burn down the village just to feel it's warm, right? And I'm gonna just say this, sisters don't really like to hear this or whatever. I'm gonna say it now and get into it deeper in a later slide. Women motivate men to do the right or wrong thing, right? I've lived long enough to see it. What you saying, Brother Crow? You said blacks in the diaspora are producing. No, we're not. We're below replacement rate. No one in America is producing. At least in America, we're below replacement rate. Replacement rate is considered 2.1 children per woman. So we're below replacement rate, and the young men aren't getting access to women. So you want to know where a lot of aggression is coming from, and a lot of derogatory feelings towards women. That's where that's coming from. And being completely honest, a lot of the times the worst men are doing the most reproducing. Because I'm gonna be honest, I know a lot of brothers that strong warriors, been in the movement for years. They may have one child, you know what I'm saying? If that, you know what I'm saying? So if those brothers aren't reproducing, but the quote unquote pookies are reproducing, y'all know what I say. My motto is character is passed down genetically. And in times of strife and struggle, people going to revert to their character that they got from their ancestors. Like some of our people are just, think about it. Like some of our people sold others of our people. Some of our people just scumbags. You know what I'm saying? And in times of stress, they're going to revert to being scumbags. A drug dealer in the 80s and 90s is no different than than a slave trader in the 1600s. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same difference. Destroying your community for $1. You know what I'm saying? So some people come from that stock. They wasn't never nothing. You know what I'm saying? They get the only chance they had is to be bred out by better stock. You know? I know that sounds harsh, but we gotta keep it 100 because y'all don't see what I see. A lot of people don't see what I see. Yeah, y'all think I don't know what people think. I don't know what black people see or what they think is going on. All I see is us marching slowly but surely down the road to annihilation. And so at the root SBL Talk, the goal is to reverse that trend. And when I get to the point where I feel like that trend can't be reversed, or we're marching, inexorably to our doom, then I will pull the ripcord and abandon ship. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all ever hear me get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm through with SBL Talk, that's your signal that it's a wrap for our folks. So yeah. Anyway, let's see, what was the next point? I guess Sister Najee's not joining us. Let's see. Let me check. Yeah, I don't see. Okay. I guess she's not joining us. Let's see. Okay, she's having tech issues. So maybe she'll be able to join us later. But yeah, she's having tech issues right now. So move forward. Said it is estimated in 2022, 170,000 black babies were aborted. That's the most recent data I can find. That's in 1 year. 170,000. Right? So in that case, in reality, the one who was the one to the womb was Urugu. He penetrated the mind of that woman and then went into that womb and destroyed that child. That's in 1 year. 170,000. That's not a small town. That's like a town. It's a good sized town. Yeah, I got the text system. 1 year. This represents 28% of abortions that year, despite black women representing only 13% of the female population. Now, somebody's going to say, well, DC, what about the men that got her pregnant? And you know what I'm going to say? Y'all going to be mad at me. This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to go back to this slide. I'm not going to say anything else. You just read point 1 and point 2 of that slide and tell me the part you disagree with. Right? Because at some point, we got to get real and deal with the reality of the situation, or continue to be destroyed. I mean, then those are the two options, right? If y'all see an option other than the two that I put forth, again, I'm here listening, right? I'm always here to listen. I'm always here to learn. I'm always here for an alternative view. But usually what I get is a lot of emotionalism and things that don't make sense. That's what I usually get, right? People will send me a message, then delete the message, or write something in the comments, delete the comments, things like that. Like, nah, keep that same energy. Let us know, you know. Sister Najee said, since she's since she having mic issues, said Western women have control over sex with no guidance on how to wield that power. I'm not going to argue with that. Now that is a communal and parental issue. It's a parental issue that extends into the whole community. And so here we are. I may argue that actually women actually have negative guidance on how to use that power. So that their guidance is coming from Sexy Red and Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, City Girls, Mulatto, and or I guess she's Big Lotto now, or Little Lotto, or whatever Lotto she is. What's her name? One look like Little Orphan Annie. Her, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's in essence, that's who they're getting their guidance from. And Sister Najee says that men/fathers are not proactive in assisting their women with continuing their bloodline. I mean, you want to know the first place I saw that, and it was weird. The first place I actually saw that was Kevin Slammy used to ask women that, you know, and a lot of women would say no. These were women that had fathers, which is wild. These were women that had fathers, and he would ask, well, you know, did you ask your father, or whatever the case may be? And many times they were like, no, or he didn't have an opinion, or whatever. I don't know what that's about. I find that I don't know what's happened. You know, because I'm gonna be honest, like even when I was like a little boy, right? You know, like 5th grade or whatever. Man, you go to some little girl's house and knock on her door. Man, if her father home, he looking at you like looking at you like discovered her, like, what are you even doing here? You know what I'm saying? Sister said, see, here she go. She said, if we have negative guidance, then we can't say women are solely responsible. Yeah, women are ultimately responsible though. At some point, you have to be responsible for your own actions. If I'm been robbing people and I get locked up, it ain't the police fault. It's my fault for robbing people. Ultimately, you know what I'm saying? I could say, man, I was listening to that stupid music. Yeah, that too was your fault. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we understand. We understand we at war, but at some point, people have to take responsibility for their part in our destruction. Yeah, that's everybody. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna get to another slide later on that's going to deal with some things. It say, various studies of the last 25 years have estimated negative fraternity tests in the Black community at between 25 and 35%. This means between 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 men are not the father of the children that they're testing. This is just for men that have been tested. Like, this is for, like, you know, relationships on shaky ground, or people who, you know, thinking about divorce, or men that suspect something, or people, you know, things like that. Like people who are in marriages or in relationships that they think they're solid, or they think that girl wasn't messing with nobody else. Those people don't even get tested, which you can make an argument that the paternity fraud is probably higher in those situations than it is in these situations, because I remember watching a European male. This guy would look like he was 60, 70 years old rich dude. Found out that his grown sons, he thought he had 3 sons. He didn't have any. He had 0 sons. I don't even remember if all the children were by the same man. And that dude looked like he was on the verge of suicide. I mean, he was distraught. I almost felt sorry for him. That's how bad it was. You know what I'm saying? So this is an aspect, this is something that people don't like to talk about. I've heard it in Jamaica and Nigeria is way worse. Nigeria, Jamaica, they got some type of term for it, but I don't know. I can't remember what the term is, but I mean, it's insane. So y'all know me, I'm for mandatory paternity testing. Because I just believe that I believe genetics determine a lot. And the reason I believe genetics determine a lot, one of the reasons is because why are enemies trying to attack our genetics all the time if they don't determine that? You see what I'm saying? Why do our enemies attack certain bloodlines in the Black community over and over and over? How come Malcolm X family can't never handle peace? Remember, they assassinated Malcolm's father. Then they assassinated Malcolm. Like everybody glossed over that first part. Then they assassinated Malcolm Latif, the grandson. Right? That's 3 out of 4 generations. The only reason they didn't assassinate is the generation behind him because he had all daughters. But the male heir was assassinated. I still remember hearing the news. When I go to New York, when I go to visit Malcolm X's gravesite, I always go over to Malcolm Latif's site because he's over there buried within like a minute walk away from Dr. Khaled's gravesite. Right? So yeah, if you're ever in New York, I cannot remember the what you call it, not the funeral home, y'all help me out. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on where people are buried. But if you ever go to Malcolm X's gravesite in that same, well, not in the same area because the place is actually huge. It's a huge, y'all help me out. Cemetery. Thank you, sister. Goodness. It's a huge cemetery. And Malcolm X is buried on one side. Malcolm Latif is buried way away from him for some reason. I don't know why. But he's buried in the same section where Malcolm X is buried. And I believe somebody told me that Aaliyah happens to be buried in that same cemetery. But I don't know where she's buried. But yeah, but back to the paternity fraud thing. Like I said, this is an issue, man, that's just going to have, this society has no desire to address the paternity fraud issue at all, for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess, all right, well, let's go over the reasons why I think. And then at quarter after, I'm going to play the lost tapes advertisement, but the reasons, let's look at some of the reasons why isn't DNA testing mandatory at birth. One, because the amount of confusion and violence and disruption of society and domestic violence that would occur if men knew that children that they weren't taking care of weren't theirs, and that they had been cheated on, deceived, so forth and so on. I guess they just don't want to deal with that, right? Two, somebody was telling me that the government basically makes money from the child support system, and if a small majority of men are reproducing even more than we think, then those men are not going to be able to pay, and then the child support thing actually loses money, right, on the local or state level. Three, that this disillusionment amongst young men if these types of stories became the norm and became known and became proven with actual DNA evidence, probably wreck the society. Like, the society's already on its last legs, but the people that are interested in keeping the society alive, they probably just like, nah, we don't want to do that. And four, I guess, would be the cost. But DNA's been out for what, 30 years now? Like, how much can it cost to do DNA tests at birth at this point? Maybe they don't have the facilities to do it. They need more facilities. You have to hire people. But I mean, the economy sucks, so why not? You know what I'm saying? I mean, government sends money to Israel. Why can't they pay for paternity tests for all babies born? You know, I think it would save a lot of confusion, and sometimes it might save lives, because when people come out and have like various genetic defects or diseases, or have organ failures and stuff like that, that's a heck of a way to find out. You trying to save your child, you want to donate an organ, and they tell you y'all not compatible, and you like, how am I not compatible with my child? And then somebody has to tell you, well, sir, the only way you cannot be compatible is that this isn't your child. I hate to tell you, right? Saw that online one time, and I was just like, that's crazy. So I remember when I was young, they used to say, mama's baby, papa's maybe. And I used to be like, yo, that's crazy. But unfortunately, it's way more accurate than I certainly wanted to believe as a young man. I wasn't trying to hear that, nightmare scenarios, but it's way more par for the course than it should be, in my humble opinion. So for those who, since we at the top of the hour, or just past the top of the hour, for those who are here and are new, this is SBL Talk. I'm your host, DC Radical One. Normally I have a co-hostess, but she is having tech issues. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on other social media, on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dcradical_ONE, on OTW2 at dcradical1. You can donate via Cash App if you are enjoying the show and want to support the program. Cash App $sign dcradical1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com if you would like to purchase one of our lectures, like if you would like to purchase one of the lost tapes, or if you would like to purchase The Death and Rebirth of the Goddess Black Woman by myself, or you would like to purchase the Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad lecture, Africa versus Everybody, The Hidden Enemies. Each lecture is $25, payable via Cash App, but you can get the entire lost tape set for $100, which will get you in total 6 lectures. So in essence, you'll be paying $16 per. So with that, I am going to play the lost tapes advertisement, and hopefully my co-host will have solved her tech issues and will join us for the second half of the program.
Now, we're going to go and talk about AIPAC. What is AIPAC? The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. What does AIPAC do? AIPAC is the gangster with a whole lot of money that says, I'm going to buy you and pay you money, and you're going to make decisions that I want you to make. You're gonna do as I tell you, because I got my hands in your pockets. And they attached to people like Jeffrey Epstein, who take videos of the people that are supposed to be our representatives, and as they take those videos, they hold them hostage and say, vote as I tell you to vote. Do as I tell you to do. Has anybody watched the videos of the kind of murder that they're doing to the Palestinians? Raise your hand if you've seen any of the videos. Raise them high so I can really see it. Alright, so then y'all will know. People who haven't seen it, it's gonna sound like I'm exaggerating. I need you all to confirm what I'm saying is true, the ones that have seen it. I'm black. I don't even like Arabs, to keep it real. I mean, I have a history as an African with the Arabs. I ain't gonna lie, man. Arab or no Arab, man, what they doing, it's men walking around. I ain't never seen that like that, to be real. They're holding their child, full body, and the body is jet black burnt, and it doesn't have a head. And he's like screaming and crying for his child. Who's seen the stuff that I'm talking about, so many things? They have children walking around with their face, half this part of their face is just hanging like to here. It's like, I can't describe it. It's like the face is off. And it's like one half of their face is there and the other half of their face not there. And the child is sitting there trying to, they can't scream because they don't have, you see burnt children. Like they go in and burn them and you go and they're showing the people there's just nothing, but you can tell us, you almost think it was like an animal, but you can see the features of a child. The kind of genocide, like they're playing games where they tell them, come here for food. And when they come there for food, they start picking them off and shoot them and kill them. But they're filming it. So if you get on the channels to see the stuff, it's so horrific. I'm trying to think. It will remind you, we've seen the lynchings of our ancestors, right? Without sanctuary. Imagine taking without sanctuary and actually seeing it while it's happening, while they're lynching somebody. But not just the one person in the picture, the whole book at the same time on the same day. We looked in the past, 1972. I was born in 1973. I'm almost 50 years old. I'll be 50 in December. A year before I got here, they must have known I was coming. They said, let's get this thing out here now before you get here. They did what's called a Gay Rights Platform of 1972. This is just official document, sharing information. If you read, go look it up online for yourself. They're making it difficult to find. I don't know if people have been noticing this, but things that you used to easily go and put it on the internet and find them, you can't find this stuff no more. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff you can't find. But I'm gonna bring your attention to just one. It's a bunch of stuff, all of it's aimed at children. Sex education for children, adoption, gay adoption of children. But there's one that's most important for what we're talking about today. And they break it down from the federal level and the state level. On the state level, they say every single state, they want laws repealing all laws governing the age of sexual consent. I'm gonna say that again. They want the repeal of all laws governing the age of sexual consent. Meaning a newborn baby, they want it to be legal to have sexual contact with a newborn baby. What year did I say?
1972. That's 51 years ago. Fast forward 21 years from then to 1993. In the interest of producing that result, they had right downtown, 30 minutes, not even 30 minutes, there's no traffic, go right up here, East Capitol, go all the way up the road, you run right into it. They had the 1993 Gay Rights March on Washington. Let's see what that was about.
Check one.
Did y'all hear what they just said? Do I need to play that again? He said he don't play it again. He said no, thank you. All right, I want to do this again. They said we're young, we're queer. We're going to do what? We're going to rule the world. Now remember, 21 years before that, what did they say that they wanted for children? Repeal all laws governing the age of sexual consent. They want to have sex with children and make it totally legalized. 21 years after they said that, they said we're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world. That was in 93. This is 30 years after that. So they've had 30 years to say we're queer, we're going to rule the world, which at that point they said we haven't gotten to the point where we rule the world, because if they did, they wouldn't be saying that. They would say we're young, we're queer, and we rule the world. They didn't say that. We're young, we're queer, we're going to rule the world and have it our way.
Something that's not talked about enough. Everybody needs to get a copy. We have them out here today. Get your packet. His name is J. Bart Klassen, MD, medical doctor. He worked directly with Anthony Fauci in '88, as far back as 1988. Thank you. And what he talks about, the title of his article, a peer-reviewed article, COVID-19 and Illegal Bioweapons Activity, and Insider's Revelations. What does J. Bart Klassen say? I'll just read this one line here. Israel never signed the 1972 Biological and Toxin Weapons Convention, and the author provides evidence to indicate the Mossad, which is the Israeli CIA, using U.S. human and material assets in running a large genocidal bioweapons attack on the world. He has a peer-reviewed study where he shows the information as an insider working there that this whole pandemic was orchestrated by Jews as a massive culling and killing and murder of people on this planet.
All right. We are back, brothers and sisters. Give me a second. We'll change up the music for the second half. And let's get back to these slides. So I guess I haven't heard from Sister Najee, so I guess she's just going to not be able to participate fully tonight. So I'm on my own. Now, if you are of a certain age, you have heard women say what is on the screen here. Brothers, if you're of a certain age, if you heard women say this on television, or weirdly enough, if you heard somebody say it to your face, comment in the chat, please. It says the best black men, are all in jail. I saw a brother play an old clip, and some women said that, and I'm like, this has been going on for a long time. Right? Like, I don't even know what, like, that clip was so old, I actually didn't recognize the talk show. So I don't even know what that was. But yeah, I've heard black women say this on talk shows since the 90s. Now that I think about it. Right? Now, to me, all right, let's have real talk. If this was the 1960s, 1970s, when the likes of Huey P. Newton, Bobby Seale, Fred Hampton, and all, those brothers that were doing work. What's the brother, Mutulu Shakur, give me some of the other of our political prisoners. Like, if you talking about from that time when our political prisoners was being locked up, okay, you have an argument. The sisters was making this argument, or making this statement, not this argument, because there wasn't no factual information or anything behind it. They were just stated. They were making this statement in the 90s, starting in the 90s. Like I said, so, imagine being 16, 17, 18 years old, hearing this statement as a, as a young black man. You looking around like, I beg your pardon? You know what I'm saying? George Jackson, thank you, brother. So, we're not talking about that time. We're not talking about the late 60s, early 70s. We're not talking about when they first locked up our political prisoners. We're not talking about when they were locking up our freedom fighters, when they was even locking up Martin Luther King and stuff. We ain't talking about that time. We talking about I guess 20 years after that. The 90s will be 20 years after the late 60s, early 70s. And women were saying that, and it was a thing that was said so much that it became like just accepted as some type of fact, but nobody ever, I don't remember the men at the time questioning what the women meant by the best men, because it went from so many men are locked up, okay, which a lot of men were getting locked up. It went from that to the best men are locked up. How were the best men locked up? Right? They're not locked up for doing no race work. They're not locked up for as some people would say, banging on the beast. Black power, the brother Vincent. Right? They're not locked up for that. They're not locked up for because they protecting black women or black children. They're not locked up because they banging on the Klan or something. Right? They're not locked up for that. They locked up most of the time. Let's be honest, most of the brothers that's locked up is locked up for committing crimes against other black people in the community. They locked up for robbing somebody's grandmother, breaking in somebody's car, breaking in somebody's house, assaulting somebody's daughter, unaliving somebody's daughter, unaliving somebody's son. Especially in the 90s, they was locked up for dealing drugs to the community, poisoning the people. And we had to hear as men and sit around, as young men that actually, some of us as teenagers growing into manhood, you had to hear about these men, the best men are in jail. No, if this ain't the 60s or 70s, the best men not in jail. Absolutely not. right? So let's get to the slide. It said nearly 50% of incarcerated black men are fathers. I ain't gonna lie, I was shocked when I heard this, right? I saw this, I was like, wait a minute, what? These numbers, excuse me, do not include black men who are on parole or probation. So if we put them in there, that's more men. As of 2016, 48% of black males in state prison and 64% of black males in federal prison were fathers. How many people remember which movie was it? Menace to Society. Right? You remember Menace to Society? You remember the brother was like, he told his young homie, go ahead and be with his girl. I can't do nothing for them out here. I mean, locked up in here. Yeah. This is again an issue we rarely discuss. Like, in fact, I've known sisters that had children by men that were locked up, and they were waiting for those men to come out. So I was like, all right, cool. So we, I'm not proud of this, right? But I'm about to say it. When you are out there and you playing the game, right? And you getting women and you getting experience with women as a young man, if a sister tell you that, if you like her but you ain't like totally tripping off her like that, she giving you an out. She giving you an easy out of the relationship. She telling you this is temporary. You like, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? We can have fun. We can hang out. We can, do or whatever. And you waiting on your man, and when he get out, I'm a dip. And I'm gonna assume that y'all have the understanding that she gonna be out here getting it in. But I'm not gonna stick around to find out. I can tell you that much. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I don't. When this is over, before he come out, I do not exist. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being completely honest. When I was young, I've done that. Oh, you waiting on your man? You waiting on your baby's father? He getting out? He getting out when? Oh, he getting out in 2 years? Oh, all right, cool. And then the woman don't. How can she hold you to any standards when you do a placeholder? So you get the best of both worlds, man. When you when you playing that part of the game. And I'm sure dudes are still doing that now. I've said this years ago. I don't even know if anybody uses the term anymore. But I told people, I said, no man who's truly a player deals only with single women. Because there ain't enough single women to go around. Men that are players are dealing with somebody else's woman, whether that dude is locked up, that dude in a hospital, he in a wheelchair, or he just ain't satisfying his woman, or whatever. A dude that's a player is not limiting himself to just single women. Right? Which goes back to our previous slide on, was that the previous slide? Our previous slide on fraternity fraud. Right? Now what they call it, the side dude or the side piece. But the player is the side piece for multiple women. And he has a main woman in addition to that. Because that's how the game is played. Man, I'm just telling y'all what it is, man. I'm not condoning any of this behavior because it's all detrimental to our society. Right? And that's how you end up with baby mamas and baby daddies. Because what did Brother Crow? Brother Crow said we need more husbands and wives, not baby mamas and baby daddies. Healthy marriages produce a better community and society. That those are facts. That goes without saying. These statistics mean that incarcerated males are more likely to be fathers than those who have never been to jail or prison. That's a damning statement. 46% of Black men in general have reproduced, they have children. 50% of men who are incarcerated have children, which means that the men who aren't incarcerated, that 46, we probably can get it down to 45, 44%. Any sisters want to interject and tell us why they think this is? Because again, we're here to have dialogue and discussion. Unfortunately, like my partner is not here, I haven't seen any sisters in the comment section for the most part, other than Sister Najee. So I don't know. We don't have any sisters watching the show. You know, if y'all watch the show later on, leave some comments. Let us know. Right now, I know what some sisters gonna say. Yeah, well, this ain't me. I ain't doing that, and that's cool. But you know, we trying to get some understanding here, right? Now, lastly, children of incarcerated fathers are more likely themselves to be in prison later on in life. Man, some of the stories I've seen of people being locked up for 20 years and seeing their son come through the same prison that they've been in for a decade or whatever is oh man, it's just crazy. It's heartbreaking. It's insane. It's unbelievable. If you ever see stories like that, I'm sure you can find them like on YouTube or whatever. And I've seen a couple of brothers talk about that, and I'm just looking like, yo, that is. I mean, what do Europeans say? That's nightmare for you right there. But it happens. It happens, and that benefits no one in our community. It just, man, just thinking about it, man, just make me shake my head. We just got to do better as a people, right? Now, I know somebody can say, hey, man, DC, but, you know, people get locked up for stuff they didn't do all the time. And that is 100% correct. And it has been since slavery ended, basically. As soon as slavery ended, they started locking up people for stuff they didn't do. So we understand that. But what about the people that committed the crime and admitted? What about those folks? Right? Now, we'll talk about womb imprinting real quick. I've talked about this before. Talk about it again, right? Womb imprinting occurs when a woman's body and mind react to her first few intimate experiences with men. The woman's body takes a composite of the first 2 or 3 men, some people say up to 4, that she is intimate with, and considers that composite the ideal man, quote unquote. This composite ideal rests in her subconscious mind and determines the types of men that she reacts to physically and psychologically from that time forward. Now, this isn't taught. This isn't a part of Western science. This is more ancient indigenous teachings, right? Sister Asha, one of well, I guess the person that she got initiated by, Master Yao, he teaches this. And some other brothers on the internet that teach this. And when I went to research this stuff to see if it was any validity to it, when you start talking to sisters and you start, like, if you start talking to sisters and they start talking about the type of men that they like, and then you ask them about the first couple of men that they were with, so a lot of validity in that. If I didn't think so, if I had researched it and I had looked into it over, I don't even know how many years now, maybe 7, 8 years now, I would not, put this on the internet. But in fact, the brother's book, like popularized this information. I remember looking for the book, and the book was out of print, and they were charging like the place I saw it. It was something crazy. It was like, and it was like $500 or something. I was like, man, y'all have lost your mind. But it also made me say, why would you charge something like, okay, it's a rare book. All right, cool. Well, who are you trying to hide the information from that you would charge $500? But that's what it was. You know, when I used to look for rare books, I used to use a couple of different search engines and a service that's just for books, where you can just put in the information about a book, and then we'll look it up and it'll show you who has the book available for sale. Like sometimes the stuff will be in a library and it'll just be sitting there, and the library will sell you the book to make money. Like I found some old books like that. But anyway, this the reason that this is important, because it goes to another problem that we have in the community that I haven't talked about yet, but I'm gonna talk about now. The fact that we have so much abuse of our women and girls in our community, no one ever makes the connection or wants to have the discussion about how that affects our women psychologically. Well, it affects them on a much deeper level than we want to understand, because it affects them. A survivor of sexual abuse is affected psychologically, spiritually, physically, physiologically, and psychospiritually, right? So the depths, the core of a woman, her personality, all of that can be altered by this traumatic experience, and is carried in the body moving forward. Now, people like Queen Afua had the expertise to be able to try to purge and heal a woman of that experience, but short of master teachers like that, simple counseling or what's the word, therapy won't heal the core of the woman from that experience. And then they go on to sometimes repeat that trauma with the type of men that they pick, right? That's how deep this goes. So, read this next slide. It says, overcoming a woman's imprint is extremely difficult for her. First of all, she has to realize this is a thing that exists. And second, she has to examine her life to see what is affecting her choice in me, right? This is why protecting young women from abuse is so important. Many Black women choose bad men because their first experience was with the worst of men, a child predator. See, nobody in the manosphere, nobody in the community, nobody wants to talk about that part, right? I'm going to keep saying it until I'm not here no more. At some point, the Black man, not the Negro male, not some dudes, not some guys, the Black man, at some point, is going to have to put a stop to the abuse of our children in our community, no matter what it takes. Regardless of how many flamethrowers and wood chippers we got to buy, we're going to have to stop the abuse of our children, boys and girls, by enemies, internal and external. If we can't do that, we're not going to never be able to build nothing. And we're not going to be able to stop anything negative that's taking place in our community. But nobody want to talk about that part. I mean, we seen it with the Bang Booty situation. We see, if you ever met Ronald Savage or you ever seen Ronald Savage, that dude ain't gonna never be right. You can see it on him. You look at Hassan Campbell, it's a different energy, but you see it on him. That quick trigger rage that Hassan Campbell got. I met the brother before. You know what I'm saying? That he ain't acting. That's his personality. Now, take that and put it on young sisters and how many of our young sisters, and then you see why so many sisters accept the ideology of feminism and the patriarchy is bad and men are predators and all this and that, because that's their experience, right? Like come on, let's talk about it, right? I ain't got nobody in the comments got nothing to say on this issue. Nobody. Talking to myself on this one, huh? Like, I'm gonna be honest, man. I remember, man. I guess once you show that you willing to address this issue, like sisters sense it, and man, like the floodgates open up, and sisters just start telling me their stories, and I just be like, I just can't. You just be like, I just can't believe this is going on. I can't believe that this is taking place. I can't believe that some dude will look at a 7-year-old, right? Or 10-year-old, or 6-year-old. You see what I'm saying? Some grown man or whatever. I remember one time this sister I knew, she was feeling me, she really liked me, whatever. But she just had some weird behaviors, and it was just something. It was something about her. I was like, I don't know. And then I remember talking to her best friend, and then she told me some of the stuff she had been through, and I was like, oh man, that's what it is. Like she had been through. What's crazy is she was still like a very sweet girl, very nice, very supportive, and like feminine and everything. But she had been through some stuff, and it would just kind of, just come out with some odd. It would come out with some odd behavior, and it was just like, the stuff she had been through. It just, man. It was crazy. She never told me none of the stuff her best friend told me. The man, her best friend, were cool. Actually, I had met her through her best friend, in fact. But it was stuff that I saw. I was like, this is not a wife. And then when she told me what she had been through, I was like, and this is the reasons. This is the answer. Trying to figure out what the problem is. This is the problem. Okay. Right? So as men, I mean, if we being just objectively, we have selfish reasons to protect our women, and if nothing else, for the next generation, right? Because somebody didn't protect a woman that could have been potentially your wife, and you ain't got. If you like me, you ain't got no wife, right? So selfishly, we should want to do it. Unselfishly, we should want to do it. But when you bring it up, because so many dudes have done something unsavory and or just questionable, or nobody want to talk about it. Because they may have been 19. They may have been like that dude, what's that dude, David, that I talked about a couple of shows ago or whatever. That dude is 20. The girl, I think, was missing when she was 15. Apparently, there's people talking about dating. No, he wasn't dating. He wasn't dating. The girl was 12, and he was 17. He was molesting the girl. Why is a 17-year-old interested in a 12-year-old? That's insane. When I was growing up, man, if you was in high school, anybody that wasn't in high school, you didn't even mess with ninth graders. 17 is a senior in high school, right? Am I tripping? Like, you didn't. Man, please. Freshmen didn't even exist. You know what I'm saying? So the idea of messing with somebody that's not even in high school is crazy. But apparently that's what that dude was doing. And yeah, the girl's not part of our community, but still, we see how this stuff can end up. It's a perfect example of what I be talking about. And these are two young people. We be seeing people older than that. Grown dudes in Dodge Chargers going to school, picking up girls that they ain't related to. And don't nobody want to say nothing. And if you work in the school system, sometimes you can't say nothing because they look at you like they ain't none of your business. Well, how's it not none of my business? The welfare of the child is my business because I'm a teacher or whatever my position is. This is insanity. We don't nobody want to say nothing. Which means if nobody don't want to say nothing, then we know nobody don't want to do nothing. And I always talk about it, and I'm always talk about it. We've seen what it's like to be sabotaged when you're trying to build a movement to address the issue. As far as I'm concerned, everybody that stopped us from doing that isn't them or their leaders or someone in their organization is in charge. Is involved in some type of unsavory acts with children. All of them. Whoever they were back in the day that opposed us dealing with that issue up in New York when Betty Booty was running rampant. Whatever organization you can think of, if they wasn't with us on that, they opposed us on that, somebody in their organization up high is dealing with unsavory acts with children. I said what I said. Prove me wrong. Because why would you stop black men who are trying to stop our children from being violated? Yeah, what's your excuse for that part? Right? Now, the importance of the black woman. The black woman is the vessel through which black liberation will come. All revolutionaries, scholars, warriors, freedom fighters, and righteous leaders came through the black woman. I don't personally know of any of our strongest warriors, revolutionaries, freedom fighters, scholars, wise scientists, or any of the above that came through a European female. If y'all have someone and you have an example, let me know. I am not aware of that. And our enemies have used women to produce traitors. But we've used our women to produce freedom fighters. And occasionally our enemy misuses our women, and we can come up with something good like Bob Marley. But we see that the rest of that generation, we see the rest of that bloodline has reverted back to the enemy status. Some of them grafting themselves back to European with their meat selection. So that just shows you how dangerous it is. You can get one good person, and that good person can't produce nobody else good. Right? It says young black women, have to learn enough self-respect to protect their wombs from self-proclaimed N-words and reserve themselves for men who are willing to marry them. I tell sisters all the time. I say, you want to get dudes out your face that you don't want? Tell them you dating for marriage, and they disappear like poof, puff of smoke. Right? you'll have one who he's gonna press the issue. Like the player, like a player, he's gonna say it's a challenge. He's gonna press the issue. He's gonna see if you're serious. The other dude that just some dude that just don't take no for an answer. He'll But the rest of the dudes, they just know. Oh, word. All right, cool, peace. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of sisters don't have the strength to do that for whatever reason. Hey man, it is what it is. It's ultimately this aspect of it is the woman's responsibility. Ain't nothing. I saw somebody say, "Oh man, y'all help me out." Was it Cat Williams? They was quoting Cat Williams talking about something. Oh, I'm gonna be in charge of your self-esteem. It's your self-esteem. And I just heard that and I started laughing. I was like, it was just funny. Some things we are in charge of, some things we are not. Now you can get help with it, but ultimately, it is a self-issue. Dr. Francis Cress Wilson said that Black women should reserve their intimate pleasures for Black men who are willing to fight against our enemies. No Black man who is not fighting against Black genocide should be allowed to reproduce. Brother Crow says that's why miscegenation is very dangerous, because it doesn't for the most part produce revolutionaries. Right? Exactly, brother. Exactly. Absolutely. I concur 100%. When people talk about Dr. Welsing and they quote what she's saying, there's two things that they don't like to talk about. They don't like to talk about her opposition to Black male feminization, right? In fact, Negroes waited till she joined the ancestral realm to hop up. Well, it was homophiles, Mark Lamont Hill, homophile. They popped up like a piece of toast and started denigrating her name and character as soon as they heard she passed. Yeah, I ain't never gonna forget, and I ain't never gonna forget. They also don't like to talk about when she talks about mate selection and not allowing men that's not fighting, as she said at the time, against racism and white supremacy, not allowing them men to even, they shouldn't be able to allow them to get with no woman. That's what she said. Don't nobody like to talk about that part. I was looking, because I don't have a physical copy of the book. I was looking through the PDFs, and on the page that I think that quote is on, that page wasn't in none of the PDFs I could find. Like they had edited it out. See, Black women talk about all the stuff Black men not doing, this and this and that. And Dr. Welsing also talked about character, like that women have to teach their daughters that the character of a man is just as important, if not more important, than what he can buy them. Right? She talked about that. I ain't never heard a woman quote that. They all said I heard women quote Dr. Welsing. I ain't never heard a woman quote that. Right? So we can't sit up here and say that that we are following the footsteps of Dr. Welsing, or following in the footsteps of this one and that one, and then when it's a part that we don't like come up, we just act like that ain't in the book, or we reproduce the book and take it out the book. I don't know. Some people might be taking it out the book. I don't know what's going on. But I've seen the shenanigans. I saw it today. I was like, wait a minute, where's the next page at? So, man, I wish Sister Najee was here so she could give me her thoughts and insight on this. But anyway, because I'm trying to close this out by at least by 2:15. Next, the Warrior's Reward. ? African warrior scholars in America are guaranteed to have a harder life than most people in America. First of all, you're Black. Second of all, you refuse to comply. You know what I'm saying? Third of all, you don't like our enemies. Once they are identified, they will be attacked economically, spiritually, legally, and sometimes even physically. Right? I mean, this is, this is the reality of the situation. This is what you sign up for. Like Malcolm X say, the wages of freedom is death. You know that the chances are you probably will not get big enough for them to say, we got to get this guy off the planet. Probably, most likely, right? It's rare. We're not producing the type of people that can galvanize a masses of our people to the point where our enemies be like, man, we got to get this dude out of here. But that don't mean you won't get attacked. That don't mean you won't get slandered. That don't mean your name won't be vilified. That don't mean that you won't get fired at your job. Once you're identified, that don't mean that you just won't have weird legal issues. That, all of that stuff is going to happen once they know who you are. And to be honest, the longer you're amongst your Rugu, the harder it is to keep up the mask that you're just a regular Negro. It becomes difficult. You know what I'm saying? Something happens, some police incident or something happens, and the real you shows up, and then they working to get you out of there, or working to get you locked up, or whatever the case may be. That's just the reality of the situation. I mean, I could tell you about brothers I know. I could tell you some of my stories, but I don't even get into that. Speaking on what I know, not what I think. Right? So in a world like that, in that type of situation, what can a brother look forward to? Because I told Brother Jeannie this. I said, leaders are motivated and fueled by ideas and ideals. Regular warriors ultimately have to get something beneficial out of it to keep them marching forward. They have to see some progress, and they have to see something that they gain individually, or eventually the battle fatigue sets in, and brothers can fall out of formation. Well, you ain't gonna really make no money doing this, right? Not no real money, So, what's your only reward? The only tangible reward most warriors look forward to is a supportive warrior queen who will assist them in their work and who will be a refuge in the storm of enemy attacks. If sisters in the movement can't do this, what are we doing? If the sisters in the movement can't do this, we ain't got no movement. Being completely honest, the warriors should not have to go outside to try to recruit Negresses, especially in this environment, to try to be compliments with. I mean, to me, that ain't going nowhere. That's good luck with that in this environment. That's all I can say. Right? So it becomes extremely difficult. And lastly, self-described black warrior queens who reproduce with unconscious Negroes blatantly disrespect every warrior man in the race. I have sisters online tell me that they this and that, and the queen this and that, and so forth and so on, and yada yada. And I'm like, oh, cool. Me and children, you got, oh, too. Yeah, about who? Oh, this brother. Yeah, okay. We don't believe you. You need more people. You got to explain it to me. How? If if he had knowledge, then you get pregnant by a Negro. Now, if you didn't have knowledge, that's a different ball game. Some of the sisters had knowledge and got pregnant by a Negro. How? HOW. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. How did this happen? Why are you settling for a Negro in a community where there are more men than women? Explain, please. Anyone want to explain this? Anybody? Nobody. Ain't nobody got nothing to say. Ain't no sisters watching this show, huh? This show we ain't getting no views on this. This thing dead in the water. That's why I needed the sister here for that. But anyway, let me move forward. Words from Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. She said, it is my conviction that the African proverb that the hand that rocks the cradle rules a nation and its destiny is true. Black women are the mothers and thus the first teachers of Black females and Black males alike. With increased consciousness of their importance as the first teachers, Black women can determine whether future generations of Black children will be warriors or if we will continue to be slaves living in a highly refined state of psychological oppression, which is no less a death than direct physical destruction. ISIS Papers, page 288. Even more so than the hand that rocks the cradle. As I've said before the cradle, before you gotta buy the cradle, before your stomach get big, before you have morning sickness, for all the things that we think about with pregnancy, pregnant women, their noses get big too. It's really kind of weird and funny. Before all them things, before all those physiological changes and psychological changes, before any of that takes place, you have to allow that man to plant his seed in you. And that choice is even more important than rocking the cradle. Why? Because character is passed down genetically. Right? And unless you have like super strong genetics to overcome the failings of choosing a poor mate, you slowly helping destroy the race. And Dr. Wilson actually it was a quote in her book talking about that, and I was like, yo, but I had finished the slide by the time I saw that. We all finished? Yeah, I guess we finished. It says, when we look at the current condition of Black love and relationships, we must remember one thing. We are being warred upon by enemies who want us removed from the planet. All analysis that omits this simple but ugly truth is rendered useless in the current time period. Before we can realistically make the changes necessary for our survival, we must accept this reality. And we must choose our mates based on this reality. Our enemies understand that every Black child born to a loving mother and loving father has a potential to be the quote-unquote Black Messiah that sparks the revolution in the Black world. Their solution to this potential problem is to stop us from producing those children in a healthy and loving environment. I kept Sister Najee's slide in here, so I'm going to say it. She said before, many are not meant to breed. Our mission is to identify and hold on to the warrior families that will build the nation. In the landscape of straight Black love, the pickings are slim, so we must hug, hold, and invest in those we truly love, those capable of procreating productive families that uphold accountability, morality, and cultural continuity. Lack of accountability and the rise of cowardly men are two sides of the same coin, bravery. True bravery means telling your truth even when it does not serve your ego or I would say telling the truth when it does not serve your ego. Even when you are the only person in the room, the stadium, or the community speaking or acting in my opt. Custody over your character and sovereignty is the solution. Lastly, eat more boron. I gotta ask her why. Nourish your body and mind, increase vitality and testosterone, decalcify and fine-tune your pineal gland, and step fully into your responsibility of leading, protecting, and building global African dominion. And I would say for women, protect your womb from inwards. As they say, the saying goes, you got one job. Your most important job for any Black woman that's listening to the sound of my voice is to protect your womb from inwards. It goes without saying that you have to protect your womb from Urugu, hats, and other non-Black entities. I think I have to say that you need to protect your womb from those. Miscegenation is eradication of the Black nation, right? But reproducing more self-appointed N-words and Negroes, coons, shines, and ham-boned is not the road to salvation or liberation for the Black nation. It's just not. So, again, I'm your host, DC Radical 1. This is SBL Talk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on other social media on Instagram. You can follow me at DC.Radical1, on Twitter at DC_Radical_ONE, on OTW2, which is a Black-owned platform, at DC Radical 1. And if you have found value in this show, you can donate via Cash App, $ DC Radical 1. And you can email me at dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. And as I said before, okay, thank you, brother. Brother Vincent Ali. As I said before, man, time is running short. The battlefield is everywhere, and the war is sure to intensify. Because I do not think this Charlie Kirk thing is going to blow over. And some type of way they're going to some type of way Black people's name is going to get sullied and slandered in the middle of this stuff, which is really between two groups of non-Black people. And we have to find a way to, we got to find some type of way to, we have to get ourselves together. We have to get, family building, nation building, meat selection, economics. We got a lot of work to do just to survive, right? Like what we doing ain't working, man. Not from my point of view. Maybe y'all seeing something different. If you are, hey, cool, let me know. But I'm going to close it out here. I'll be back hopefully next week with SBL Talk on Thursday. And I'm not sure when the center will return. Hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday. And, y'all be safe out there. Take care of each other. And I thank you all for y'all support. And let me just say this real quick before I close out. We're getting more subscribers. Like the subscriber count is going up steadily. But the viewer count isn't going up steadily. And I'm not really sure what's going on. So if you're one of the new subscribers and you happen to watch this show, comment down in the bottom how you found us, right? Or one of the other shows, I'm gonna ask people, comment how you found us, and let us know what you like and what you don't like. I know that Charlie Kirk subject has brought in a lot of people lately, but it started. The subscribers started before that. Some of it I'm going to attribute to Sister Najee's face, because I posted 2 clips at the same time. One of them nobody watched. The other one, a lot of people watched, and it's because her face is on the thumbnail. Because that's the only difference, in my opinion. Well, I mean, the subject matter is different, but yeah, I think that's what it is. So I'm gonna attribute some of that to her, which is why I'm disappointed she wasn't part of this show. But other than that, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. So with that, brothers and sisters, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing. I am your host, DC Radical One. With that, I say a baby for 48 and straight black pride.
Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our other social media platforms. On Instagram, we're at dc.radical1. On Twitter, we're at dc_radical_ONE. And the Cash App is $DC Radical 1. Again, thank you for subscribing. A big for ODA and straight black pride.